Hello all, this is Laura March from Little Draw, here again with you for another drawing video. Now, this one, as you can tell, is probably very long, but I, of course, will not talk for the entire time. I just wanted to give you a good idea of one of my latest drawings, because lately I haven't been able to get a whole lot out, and that's totally on my part. It's been a busy month, holidays and such. So I haven't been able to get anything out for a few weeks now, and I kind of really wanted to get something out there. And what I have brought to you is one of my latest pictures. It's Lieutenant in Space. Lieutenant, as you may know, is one of my characters from my webcomic, All of Space Left to Go. On a previous recording that I did for this, that kind of screwed up. I said Left Behind, and it's like, how do you mess up your own webcomic name? But anyway. So right now I'm just drawing one of the characters, Lieutenant in Space, because I just love space so much, and it's very fun to draw, but also kind of complex, because it can be so simple, but it only looks good if you put like a good amount of effort into it. And that's what I tried to do with this one, but I tried like a different style that I don't normally do to kind of show that. And this one, I really don't know what it's called, but I call it like paper, like a paper style or retro, because it has kind of different components that you draw. You don't draw the outline, you just make different parts of them, kind of put them together. And that's why I kind of call it paper. But it's one of my newest favorite styles to work with, because it's not only kind of simpler, but it's something you actually have to work with, and you can't just draw an outline and just fill it in. So it takes a little bit more of effort and thought put into it. And again, I apologize for the audio. It's probably god-awful, because the computer is just making the most god-awful sounds. But I will try to work with that later on when I have, enough for a microphone, or I can try to find a different way to record. Because right now it's just this giant computer and I'm just talking into it, so it's not the best audio. But I will get on that as soon as possible. But right now I just wanted to get a video out to you guys, because I know I haven't gotten one out in a while. And this is what I brought you. This one was done a few weeks ago. Like I said, I've been procrastinating horribly. And this is what I have for it. And obviously I'm not drawing as I'm talking. This is kind of just a voiceover one yet again, because, like I said, bad audio equipment, and you can see my tracks there. But yeah, so eventually I will be able to do that voiceover when I get like the time and the place, to do it. But right now it's kind of just inconvenient to try to do it like that. So this is what I have, and I hope you guys don't find it too much of a burden or too weird, or just kind of odd to listen to, because it's, voiceover, but I hope you enjoy it nonetheless. And I've noticed a few of you who have come up in the comments and just kind of wanted to show their appreciation for my work, and I just wanted to thank you guys who ever comment on my videos and say, nice things about it, or just compliment it, or take the time to kind of compliment it. And it really does mean a lot to me to hear that, because when you work on something and you don't hear it from anyone, which is normally the case, and then you just out of the blue hear from someone saying, hey, this was nice, I like the effort you put into it, or, it's just nice to look at, or anything like that. And it's just really nice to hear from time to time. So thank you all. So right now, again, just working on the face of Lieutenant. And I have not, speaking of the comics, I have not been able to get too many out. Like I said, because of holidays and such, I've been really busy. So I've only gotten, one, maybe a week or two, and that's really not doing it for me, because I chose this random, story style, it's not following any sort of story, and I chose that for a reason, so that I could get more out at a time and not have to follow the story. But, lately I haven't been able to do that, and it's kind of upsetting me. I want to get more out there for you guys. And of course I'll put the link to the comics below in the description, in case you haven't seen them, and in case you're wondering who this character is. It'll all be there. I'll put my Tumblr, my DeviantArt, the Tumblr for the comic, and all that. in case you guys want to check it out. Oh god, I hate erasing stuff. It's awful. And that's a kind of a downside to this paper one. It's kind of permanent once you put it there. Once you draw it, it's kind of, you really can't fix it unless you're really trying, because drawing and redrawing just a filled circle or shape is kind of hard to do. So his fate didn't turn out too well, but you know, it was decent. And this is still today one of my favorite drawings because of the paper style and how I kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say how I did it, but you know, just kind of how it looks in that style. And I like how it turned out. But of course, there are still a bunch of flaws in it that I haven't, you know, addressed yet. But there are quite a few, but you know, I'm not going to look on those too much, except for my next drawing. And actually, I did bring this drawing up to someone when I did finish it, and they gave me like a few hints on what they did not like about it. And I drew a second drawing of kind of like this one in the same style, but it was of Captain, my other character from that comic. And I did like how it turned out a lot better. Well, not a lot better. They're both one of my favorites, so yeah. Excuse me. Again, it's early in the morning because it's the only time I get to, you know, record. So really sorry if my voice is just terrible to listen to. And I will put a speed paint out of this one in case you guys, you know, just want to look at it like that. Because I know nobody wants to listen to me talk for 20 minutes on end. But, you know, either way, if you guys check out either one, it is completely fine with me. And so right now, just getting his hair and such. Oh, I really don't know how to talk on these things because I have not done a whole lot of them. And I do enjoy doing them because, you know, it's just a time to talk and, you know, talk about my drawings, and it's kind of fun to vent. But I do run on empty sometimes, and so if I ever just go quiet, just, you know, completely ignore me. And if it, wow, I completely lost my train of thought. I am so sorry. I'm just so professional today. But it is early. It's like 10. I know that's not early for some people, but it is exceptionally early for me. But it is just, you know, a Saturday morning, and everyone's out of the house, and it's really nice. And hopefully I'll be able to get more comics out for you guys. And I was thinking of doing another Out of Space comic, like a Christmas special or holiday special, whichever you prefer. And I was thinking of taking the holiday special plot that I was going to do. I was actually going to do a Halloween special, but I never got the time to do it. So I was thinking of taking that same plot and putting it onto the Christmas special. And of course, it's going to be slightly more morbid because it was a Halloween special. But I kind of like those twists and those sort of specials. So I'm seriously considering it. And if you guys have any feedback on that or have any other suggestions you'd like to make for the comics, I would love to hear them. Because, you know, they're just little short ones, and I love to see people interacting with my characters. I got a message the other day from, oh, I don't want to say a fan, just from a viewer of my art. I don't know what she'd call them, but from someone, they gave me a comment saying, oh, you have such a very cute comic, and I love it. And I was like, oh, that means so much to hear. And they're like, oh, well, what if you could put Captain and Lieutenant in this situation? And I was like, that is a fantastic idea. I might actually do that. So it is really nice to hear from you guys. And if you have anything to say at all, of course, you can go to that Tumblr and for the comic, and you can just send me a message and anything like that, saying how much you like it or dislike the comic, whatever. And just maybe some suggestions for them, because like I said, it's a very open-ended comic. There's only like 2 characters. They're in space. They're on a ship. They can go to any planet. I left it very open for a reason because I kind of wanted to get a Hitchhiker's feel to it, even though I did kind of give it a Star Trek plot almost. Well, kind of just the setting of it was kind of, you know, in the Star Trek kind of setting, you know, two main male characters in space, just, you know, going to different planets, but it's not as sophisticated as it, or, well thought out. It's kind of just a fun little adventure, kind of like Hitchhiker's Guide. And yes, I am a fan of those books, if you guys wanted to know. So, oh, look at all those layers. There's so many. Yeah, especially for this paper style, you need all the layers. You need one for each part of the body, each eye, each detail, each limb, for the most part. But it is kind of fun to just kind of set it up like that, and it's a lot more mobile than the outline, because with the outline it's kind of it's just an outline. It's not a complete part of something. So if you try to move it, you have to move the other parts with it, and it's not as put together as well. And it can get confusing, and it can just be a bunch of lines, and you're not sure what to do with them. So that's why this one's kind of my favorite style. But I of course will still be doing the other one. But this one is, nonetheless one of my favorites. And I will be working on other styles and shading and programs and stuff in time, because right now, as you can see, this is like the only program I use. It's Corel Painter Essentials, and it's one of my favorites. I have tried Painttool Sai, but the thing about Sai is that it has kind of a glossy look to it that I don't care for. Like, I've seen a bunch of anime and manga type drawings on there, but a lot of people are going to hate me when I say this, but I'm not a huge fan of anime. It's all the same style, and I won't go into it because I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, why? And I have gotten that a lot. They're like, oh, you gotta try this anime and this one. It's a lot darker than this, or it's a lot better than this one. I'm like, they're all the same to me, and a lot of you are gonna hate me for that. But I have been influenced more by cartoonists than I have, anime or manga drawers, because of course I didn't grow up with them. I was not used to them. They did not influence my drawing style. Cartoonists did. So when people ask me why I can't stand anime, is because I've been influenced too heavily by cartoons and by that cartoony style rather than the glossy sheen of like anime. But nonetheless, there are a few I like. So you guys don't entirely hate me, there are a few animes that I do like Soul Eater or Pumpkin Scissors. They're very obscure ones. But yeah, there are a few, in case you guys don't want to get too pissed at me. But I mean, it just wasn't a huge influence on me at all. So, cartoonists like John Kay from Ren and Stimpy, J.G. Quintel from Regular Show, trying to think of a few others. Well, nonetheless, cartoonists, like I said, it's early, I can't think of any, but, mainly cartoonists have influenced me, and I don't want to drive that point too hard. But yeah, so, anime is not my thing, and I just love cartoons more than anything. But I do like kind of the solidity of anime, if that makes any sense. Like, it has kind of a style and a palette that appeals to people. Like, it's just a whole set. I am terrible with palettes. That's why I have a whole character that's, gray and white. But anime does do a good job of having those colors kind of work together, and I'm bad with colors. So I do respect them, animes and anime creators and manga creators. I do respect them. I don't, hate them, but it's just not my thing. So that's my little rant for that. I kind of had a bunch of other influences from different artists. There was one, Evan Dom. He wrote a book called Rice Boy, and it is, to this day, one of my favorite comics, because it is just so obscure and different. Like, it follows the same pattern of, a hero's journey in, every comic book or whatever, but it has such odd characters and kind of plot points to it that kind of differs greatly from other comics. And there was another one, Bone, the Bone series. They were a big comic series for a time, and my older sister was into them for a while, and I kind of got into them, and you could see the appeal in them, and it was just fascinating. Just read them on for hours. She had the collection of all the books, and it was a huge ass book. It had all of them in there, and you could just start at one and then just go on for hours reading them without noticing, because they were just very good and engulfing. And kind of to go back to that anime point, anime never did that for me. It never got me too interested in, like, enveloped in it as much as comics did. Because once you watch one anime, you see everything from that anime and everything in the other one. So it's kind of all the same to me. And I hate to be saying this, but I don't want to just make it seem like out of the blue, oh, I hate anime. No, it's for reasons. But yeah. So cartoons, I'm a big fan of them. I like live action shows. Like I've said before, like Sherlock, that one's a big one. Always big on the books, huge fan of it. Cartoons, one of my main influences today is Ren and Stimpy. I have recently started rewatching that show, and oh my god, it is so raunchy. I watched it, I think, when I was a little younger, not when I was a kid. It ended in 95. But I watched it when I was a bit younger, and it had no appeal to me. Like, it was just gross, and I was like, oh, this is a boys' cartoon or whatever, you know. And it was just, like, had jokes in it that I did not get, and it was just not funny to me, like, at all. And now I watch it today, and it is hilarious. Like, it's stupid, but it's hilarious. And the animation of it is crazy, because when you think of having to redraw all those actions like they had to do back then when John Kay was still animating for them, you have to think it was just hand by hand, and drawing those exaggerated motions is just incredible. And it's the discontinuity of that animation that I love and that a lot of people hate, because they're like, oh, it's just this gross, cartoon. But it has kind of really cool animation to it that I don't think a lot of people see to it. They just think, oh god, this is insane. But I like the insane ones. So it is one of my favorite comics today. Cartoons. And it has had kind of an influence on my drawings right now, because, like I said, it's exaggerated and it has such emotion and life to it that other cartoons back then didn't have. Like before Ren and Stimpy, you had cartoons like Doug and the Jetsons and Flintstones. And something I learned recently, John Kay, the creator of Ren and Stimpy, he used to work on those shows, like Jetsons and Flintstones. And what it was that they had like kind of a traced design for each of the stances or poses, and all you had to do was trace over each of those that they had already created. So you pretty much had to do a cookie cut of these characters each and every time they wanted to talk or say some sort of gag or move. It was all the same drawings, and that just pissed off John Kay. Now, whether you love him or hate him, he is, phenomenal excuse me, it's early. He was a phenomenal animator, and he created some pretty weird ass stuff, but he kind of got his exaggerated motions and animation from those cartoons because they were just so simple and repetitive that it's like, how can you stand this? Why wouldn't you go out of the lines and just do an incredibly out there animation? And that's exactly what he did. And if you haven't looked up John Kay, you really should. John Kricfalusi. He is a character. That is what he is. He has had an interesting past with Nickelodeon. I was about to say Cartoon Network. No, that's not right. But he has had a huge past with Nickelodeon, and it's been complicated, and it's hard to take sides in that whole thing. If you haven't looked up the history or know it, he was actually kicked from his own show because of, he was just kind of an asshole the entire time, and scheduling issues and such. So they just kicked him up from his show, got another voice actor, Billy West. He is incredible too, but they got him to do all the parts of the show, and they just kept creating episodes of Kricfalusi's show. So they kind of just, I don't want to say stole it from him, but they did it for another 3 seasons without him, and he went on to do his own projects, but they weren't nearly as good, of course. And it kind of just pisses you off when you think about that as an artist. It's like, oh, well, I created this nice thing that I love, and I think I should have, jurisdiction over this. But, you know, getting kicked from that because of their standards kind of messes with you. It kind of really does piss you off. But, I can see where they were coming from too. They totally said that he was an asshole. He wouldn't follow scheduling. He, nearly got past the radar so many times with all his, disgusting comedy and humor that you don't normally see in cartoons, or you hadn't before then. Today, it's like, commonplace to see that kind of stuff, or, a little bit more accepted. And it's just crazy to think that he got kicked from it just for those little things. But I mean, you can only work with a guy for so long. And I don't think it would have gotten me as much if they had just, left the show alone. Like, okay, you're gone, the show's gone, whatever. But I'm sure ratings were too high and such, so they just couldn't, just drop the show there. And that's my little spiel for that. I don't want to go on for hours telling you guys about that, because I'm sure you're already tired of hearing it. But what I would like to hear is some of your guys' favorite cartoons. What did you grow up with? Did you grow up with the Flintstones, or watch those mainly, or, Ren and Stimpy like me and some of those weird ones? I never watched any kind of the copycat Ren and Stimpy shows, like Cow and Chicken and stuff, because those were just flat out annoying. Sorry if that's your childhood, but it was not one of my favorites. And I watched a few others like Cat Dog and stuff like that lately, and it just does not have the same appeal as it, because it's not as adult-ish. And I've watched a few good adult cartoons, like, of course, Family Guy and Simpsons and South Park. I recently got back into South Park, and it is hilarious too. But some of the newer episodes just, aren't for me. But the humor for a while did get me, and I did love it. And so I am definitely into any adult shows or anything if you guys have any suggestions. But the thing with adult cartoons is, like, you expect that kind of humor. So it's not really a surprise. It's like, oh yeah, they're going to say a sex joke here, or they're going to say a, raunchy joke here, and of course I'm going to get it, and it's centered for me, or whatever. The demographic is, my age or older, and of course I'm going to get those jokes. So it's not really a surprise. But when you hear it in a cartoon, it's innuendo, and I just love those. Animaniacs was a big one for the innuendos. They had so many in each episode that you're like, oh, I get it, this is hilarious. And it's ones, of course, kids won't get, and I kind of love that. It's just centered for both audiences. And I am easily entertained, but also pretty bored of just regular animation. And if there's not something that captures my attention, I, of course, won't watch it. But it needs to have kind of a weird element to it, and then I'll be attached. Speaking of weird, I started watching some Bjork videos yesterday. Yes, those are just so odd. If you have not watched a Bjork video, or have never heard of Bjork, you really should. Some of her videos are most of them are very out there. And if you ever get the time, you really should check them out, because, they're just odd, and you've probably not seen anything like it. And you should check this out. I mean, a few of them were pretty out there, but some were actually kind of cool. And she just has some interesting music. There are maybe 3 or 4 really good songs, but it's mainly the videos that I keep coming back to. So I won't be talking for this entire video, like I said, and I'll probably be finishing up soon. And just kind of let you guys either watch the rest of this or kind of just skip ahead. But it's just interesting, the whole cartoon and animation business. Of course, I want to go into animating, and or illustrations or designs or something like that. But I definitely want to get into an art school or anything like that. CalArts, I heard, was a really good one, because that's where all the big name animators and directors and stuff like that went to. But that's kind of out of the way. But it's not it's not totally out of my mind. It's one of my highest goals, is to go to CalArts eventually. Right now I'm, of course, in school, but I'm working there. Working to get there. I'm also taking French and stuff like that. You know, basic stuff that interests me. Animation, languages, design, graphic design is mainly what I'm getting into. Because just designing in general is what interests me. It's the colors and how everything works together is what really gets me for the most part. It's being able to create kind of new characters and worlds and being able to put them in situations that people find interesting and find fascinating and they actually like it is what is the complete purpose of drawing for me. It's kind of just giving something that people look on and say, hey, I really like this, and give them something else to like, give them something to look onto and kind of be influenced by. That is one of my biggest long-term goals, is for someone to be influenced by my art eventually. And that will be a very happy day because, you know, I've been influenced by so many people, and to have someone say, hey, I'm influenced by your art would mean so much to me. So that's about all the time I have. I will let the video run or, skip it ahead. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching. I will see you later. Bye.